Officer here at BioBridge Global. I wanted to thank you all for joining us as we celebrate the 4th anniversary of an amazing program that continues to save and change lives in a very positive way in this community through pre-hospital transfusions of low titer whole blood. And you're going to hear a lot more about the Brothers in Arms program, which is what we've come to call it here this morning. But you know, during this, what I'll call this 100-year pandemic, you know, it seems like people everywhere are searching for consistency, something that they can kind of grasp onto, and you know it's going to be the same. And this group, you donors, this group is a model of consistency. You continue to answer the call. Many of you are veterans, many of this group are veterans, and you continue to answer that call when needed. And I'm just so thankful to be able to participate in something like this. And I wanted to take a moment to thank you. You'll get a lot of thank yous this morning, but thank you for your dedication. The show rate of this group being part of this program is amazing. More than 90% of the time, if you've got an appointment, you're making it come hell or high water. And it's a real model for the rest of our donor base and the rest of this community to follow. That kind of dedication is truly amazing, and like I said, in this case, life-saving. Before I sit down, which I'm trying to do very quickly, I'd just like to recognize a couple of special guests this morning. With us this morning is Dr. Ronald Stewart, Professor and Chair of the Department of Surgery over at UT Health San Antonio. Thank you, Dr. Stewart, for being here this morning. Also with us is one of your fellow brothers in arms and president of the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce, a longtime supporter of South Texas Blood and Tissue, and a longtime donor, Richard Perez. Thank you, Richard, for being here this morning. And also with us this morning is one of the people who, the puns come too easily, right, who literally helped us get this thing off the ground, Dr. C.J. Winkler. C.J., thank you for being here this morning. And finally, I'd like to recognize our next speaker, who is the Chief Operating Officer of South Texas Blood and Tissue, an amazing person. As you get to know her, you're going to find that out, and I'd like to introduce Adrian Mendoza. Adrian?
All right, it's fitting we have this in January because a presidential proclamation in 1969 declared National Blood Donor Month to be January every year. And what better time to celebrate than now, and the Brothers in Arms donor group, because without you guys, this whole program would not be here today. The proclamation's opening paragraphs are as relevant today as they were over 50 years ago. It reads, "Genuine concern for his fellow man has always distinguished the American citizen. That concern finds daily expression in countless acts of voluntary service to the less fortunate, the sick, and the injured. No manifestation of this generosity of spirit is more expressive, and no gift more priceless in time of personal crisis than the donation of one's blood. The voluntary blood donor truly gives life itself." Since 2018, the voluntary blood donors of the Brothers in Arms have, through this program, saved thousands of lives. This morning, we will hear one such story of a life saved, and Scott will meet his donors for the first time, hopefully. They're actually running late. They really are trying to get here in time, and it's not because of anything that they intended, all extraordinary circumstances, but hopefully we'll see them. If not, we're going to definitely tell their story and get a chance to have Scott and his donors unite at some point. 4 years ago, Southwest Texas Regional Advisory Council, STRAC, was awarded a grant to support the establishment of a now historic collaboration between multiple organizations, including South Texas Blood and Tissue, UT Health San Antonio, University Health Systems, the U.S. Army Institute of Surgical Research, and the San Antonio Military Medical Center. The program pioneered by this collaboration has truly transformed trauma medicine. It is a program that regions across the country and the world are trying to emulate. The greatest difficulties actually in replicating the collaborative spirit and coordination that this unique program has achieved. Today, there are over 3,200 active Brothers in Arms donors in South Texas. Just a few of you all the elite donors are here today, and I just want to thank you again for all the hard work throughout the pandemic. You've been extraordinarily consistent even prior to that, and every year this program has continued to build. In 2021, an astounding 5,500 donations were made by this amazing group of people. So the rotational program that STRAC supports moves the donors unit through the system to ensure every donation has the best chance of saving a life over the course of its 35-day shelf life. At any time, between 70 and 130 donations are in rotation across the region, including inventory we have here on hand at South Texas Blood and Tissue. During the last half of its available shelf life, the units that are not transfused pre-hospital are transferred into the hospital's inventories to support trauma patients as they arrive, and they're getting used. We have very, very few units that ever expire in this program. It's exceptionally efficient, making sure that every unit has good stewardship and gets used. So chances are extremely high that any donor who walks into this building and any other of our donor centers as a Brothers in Arms, that unit's going to go on to save a life. And it's always someone who's dealing with severe, life-threatening emergencies. So just think about that for a moment when you think of those numbers, 5,500 donations in just 1 year alone. In fact, also 8 South Texas hospitals are now using low-titer O whole blood for the most critically injured and hemorrhaging patients. A few months ago, I was able to personally visit the trauma ward at University Hospital, where Dr. John Jenkins shared with me that the program is now a launchpad to train physicians from around the world on the transfusion practices of low-titer O whole blood right here in our community. A great group of physicians are involved in that effort, including Dr. Ronald Stewart over here. So please join me now to welcome Dr. Ronald Stewart to give an overview of how successful these programs have been.
Thank you so much. It's an honor and privilege to be here and to celebrate the 4th anniversary of this amazing program. Before I talk a little bit about the program, I can't express enough gratitude to the donors who really give the gift of life and share so broadly. And I want you to know that you make a real difference in our patients' lives. I was on call last night. I just got off call, and we used cold stored low titer whole blood this morning in working to save someone's life. It really makes a difference. So I want to really express our gratitude for your amazing service and gift. And also, I was talking to Dr. Winkler back in the back just a minute ago, but special shout out to the South Texas Blood and Tissue Center and San Antonio Fire Department and the Office of the Medical Director, Dr. Winkler, who have done such amazing work with respect to this. Thanks to all of our air medical providers, which really got this program kicked off and makes such a difference. All the ground EMS and the healthcare systems that make up South Texas, and I'm a part of it. But special thanks to all the members of STRAC, of the Southwest Texas Regional Advisory Council, which really is truly a model of collaboration for the world. This program couldn't work without all those and the terrific partners in South Texas. But just a little bit about the program, and I'm really a sub here for Dr. Jenkins. Dr. Jenkins, I was on call last night. Dr. Jenkins is on call tonight. So a little bit of update. The program has 38 rotation sites. What's a rotation site? That's a site where whole blood is administered, so an ambulance or helicopter site. We have 3 rotation centers. Those are hospitals that work to rotate the blood and serve as a reservoir in some ways. But we have 2 sites going to 3, University Health, Christus New Braunfels, and Methodist Healthcare System. So that's terrific and outstanding. We have 216 units of whole blood in the inventory this morning. I may have used a 10 already, but we have more than 200 units of whole blood in the inventory. And just a little bit of paint the picture with some numbers. Over 1,000 patients each to have received whole blood to University Hospital, pre-hospital, so our EMS partners, and Brooke Army Medical Center. That whole blood goes to save the lives of critically injured trauma patients when they really need it the most, when really you need it the most. And also, we don't talk about it quite as much, but moms who are in childbirth, it makes a real difference, cold stored whole blood, and a whole host of medical patients who are in need of blood transfusion. So in total, more than 3,000 patients have received greater than 9,000 units of whole blood with the program. So we're heading towards the 10,000th unit of whole blood. So there's really no comparable civilian program like this in the country, in the world. Also, we're in the midst of what probably is the most severe blood shortage in history, and this program has saved packed red blood cells, platelets, and FFP from by using the donors, but also by giving 1 unit instead of the components. So it's made a real difference for us in our community with respect to the blood shortage. And there's evidence coming out now every day, every month that shows that pre-hospital and hospital cold stored whole blood for patients who are bleeding saves lives and improves outcomes. So again, I'm just going to wrap up by saying this program could not happen, would not happen without the amazing gift of the Brothers in Arms donors who are so selfless with respect to your gift and your commitment and your enthusiasm. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today. And I'm very, very grateful. Thank you.
All right, so those pre-hospital assets that are in play out in the field with the low titer whole blood, I'd like to invite CJ Winkler up to talk a little bit about how that program works and explain the emergency vehicles that use them.
Thank you so much. So if anyone's met me, they know I don't have any scripted stuff. My speeches are all non sequitur and things that I care about. One of the things I really care about is this community and what this community is able to accomplish, and not just pre-hospital care, but care in general. And I'll start off by saying what we have here in South Texas or Southwest Texas, what we have here is something that the rest of the world wants to emulate. They want to reproduce what we have here. Why does that happen? Well, probably the most humble person in the room, it's not me, the most humble person in the room is Dr. Stewart, and he quickly went over what he does, but he's pretty much, my words, not his, he would never use these words. He's the boss of STRAC, and he's basically the boss of surgery at University UT Health. And why that matters to me is because he understands what EMS is. To have a trauma surgeon understand what EMS is makes every single person wearing a uniform like this and every patient that gets touched by people wearing a uniform like this makes their care better because he believes in our mission. So I want to tell a few stories. Of course, we have told some stories in the past about life saves, but we just had one a week ago. We had a young lady that had an ectopic pregnancy rupture, and she was unresponsive and hypotensive, and she happened to be at her OB's office. She went to her OB's office, and with an ultrasound, we knew she was bleeding internally. We ran in there because of our dispatch system at San Antonio Fire Department, because of the way we have paramedics and dispatch. We recognized right away what was needed. We sent one of our lieutenant EMS supervisors, Lieutenant Carl Jackson, went there, gave the patient blood. She's still alive today. We have another story. We have a whole bunch of stories like that with the OB patients. And you know, I'd say this in our minds started off as a trauma program, and that is the bulk of patients that get whole blood here. But the OB patient, the pre-hospital OB patient and the hemorrhage is just a patient population that was not able to be addressed before. And we're able to address that now. Every time a donor donates a unit of blood, it has the potential to save another young mother's life and their child's life. There are medical patients that we give whole blood to as well, anything from GI bleed to we've had arterial hemorrhage from kind of a medical situation. We have had varicose bleeding. All these things we can address at the point of injury, which, being Military City, USA, we are able to cross-level. That's another word for we steal all the military's ideas, but go with cross-level for the news. So we cross-level their ideas, and the reason we're able to do that is because of people like Dr. Donald Jenkins, my spirit animal, where he understands what is happening because he's been downrange to save lives. Dr. Eastridge, another one of my spirit animals and heroes, another humble person who's downrange doing surgeries and you know, ducking in the tent while doing surgery because shrapnel's coming through the tent. Those are people that understand our mission pre-hospital because they work as a team in the military. We are blessed to have STRAC, which if I have to do the elevator pitch to explain what STRAC does, I just say they make medicine better. So we have an organization that helps tie hospitals and ambulances together and make what we do better. Why that matters is because they've been intimately involved from the beginning with South Texas Blood and Tissue Center. And just what South Texas Blood and Tissue Center does for EMS and does for hospitals is they're 5 years ahead to 20 years ahead of everyone else in the country, because everyone else in the country will be doing it this way eventually. We're just able to cross-level from the military and recognize a good idea. And thank goodness our partners at South Texas Blood and Tissue Center and STRAC push that forward so people like me can stand up at this lectern and say thank you to our donors, thank you to our EMS providers. We have blood in EMS. While yes, San Antonio Fire Department has transfused about 800 units, that's 800 patients that have gotten blood. This is a program that is truly egalitarian. We have blood in the rural setting. We have blood in the suburban setting. And it's really the patients out in the rural setting that, oh, I just gave myself goosebumps. It's really the patient out in the rural setting that I'm most excited about, because these are anything from, you know, car wrecks to less traditional farming accidents, even out in the oil field, of course. These are patients that we can get blood to at the point of injury. And while it seems rather intuitive about getting blood on an ambulance, it has just not been done before until now. Getting blood out to the patient where they're injured just has not been able to be an operating system until now because of all the people I mentioned. I want to say thank you again to so many people that it's like an Academy Award when I'm up here. There's about 5 million agencies to thank, every single person to thank. I can never get them all right, but there are a ton of people that make this work, not just me. a ton of people that make this work and make this successful. And again, I'm always going to finish up these talks to the donors. Thank you to the donors. You have supported the pandemic. You have supported the other blood services. You have supported people that need platelets. You have supported people that need plasma. You have supported people that need red blood cells with your donation for the Brothers in Arms Whole Blood Program. So thank you to the donors. Thank you to everyone that was able to show up on this rather frigid Texas morning and be here. We really appreciate it. I'm available for anyone to come and say hi or ask questions, or if they have a plan for us to even do it better, let me know. Thank you all again so much.
Thank you, CJ. I think you're my spirit animal too. So I'd like to introduce now our San Antonio Chamber of Commerce President, Richard Perez. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today to talk about this important program. You know, when you think about cities and why cities are so special, you have to think about why San Antonio is special. And San Antonio is special because we are a city of service. You know, we're not a financial center, we're not a tech hub, although we have financial things, we have tech things, we have, you know, healthcare and bioscience is very important, we have aerospace. But when you boil all that down, we're a city of service. And this Brothers in Arms program is a fantastic example of that service. People like you, people like me, that raise their hand and say, I want to help. I don't have a particular talent, but I have blood. And I can give that blood to help people in this community. And so in my humble opinion, service is what we do so well in San Antonio, and the Brothers in Arms program is that fine example of how we come together to serve our fellow man. And I'm happy and proud to be a member of the Brothers in Arms program. And I'm happy and proud to say that the San Antonio business community rolls up its sleeve every single day to host blood drives and to promote the idea of giving as a way to assist and increase that service in this community. And so I want to say that the San Antonio business community is going to redouble its efforts to make sure that we have opportunities so that people can provide service in the simplest way they can, and that is by rolling up their sleeve and helping our fellow man. So thank you all of the volunteers that are here and all those that will hear about this, and hopefully we can get them excited about rolling up that sleeve and helping us in our endeavors to save lives. Thank you.
All right. So Scott has been a regular blood donor when his company has hosted blood drives in the past. In early 2021, he suffered a traumatic injury that resulted in him needing transfusions to save his life. Today, he will tell his story, and then he'll get to meet one of his blood donors as well.
Thank you. Oh, wow, hi, good morning. So my name is Scott Mussy, and public speaking is not something that I thrive to do. Roger reached out to me from South Texas Blood and Tissue and said that you guys were having an event for Brothers in Arms, and would I be willing to participate and share my story. And as I said, as much as I love public speaking, and particularly speaking in front of audiences where I don't know the group, I said, absolutely, sign me up. So, as I said, my name is Scott Mussy, and I've been a blood donor for many, many years. I've donated well over a gallon. I don't know exactly how many units I've donated over the years. Growing up, my mom was a nurse, and I just was always raised and instilled that donating blood was the right thing to do. Never once did I ever seriously think that I would be a recipient of that gift of life. And I don't have words specifically prepared for today, but as I look across this room, there are multiple people that are here who directly are responsible for providing me with the gift of life. And I truly do see it as a gift of life. Last April was a normal work day in the world of COVID for myself and my wife, Melissa. We both work for a large company here in San Antonio. You guys might have heard of it. It's called USAA. And since the pandemic, we've been working from home. Well, I had finished my meetings for the afternoon and gone out and was doing tinkering on a piece of farm equipment, which is something that I enjoy doing. And was doing something that I've done repeatedly multiple times, you know, throughout my life. I was using a metal grinder and grinding on a piece of metal. The piece of the metal grinding disc actually exploded and disintegrated and shot a piece through my forearm and severed multiple arteries, muscles, tendons, and nerves, and all of that. I'm a big outdoors person. I enjoy hunting and fishing and things of that nature. That's one of my passions outside of doing stuff with my family. And immediately when this happened, I looked down and could see the amount of blood loss, and I knew that this could be the end. And I didn't know if I had seconds to live or minutes to live or hours. But my initial reaction to the event was I've got to make it to the house, because if I don't make it to the house, I'm going to die right here. And so I got to the house, you know, calmly, and just walked right in casually, maybe not quite so casually, and yelled to my wife and said, "Hey, I've got to go to the hospital immediately, and I need a tourniquet in a bad way." And so my wife came around the corner, probably thinking that I had, you know, had a hangnail or something, and her eyes got as big as saucers, and she went into action. So first and foremost, I'd like to thank my beautiful wife, Melissa, for having the foresight to go into action. And instead of taking me to the hospital, it was mentioned earlier, you know, how rural recipients have benefited from this program. And we live close to Pleasanton, Texas. So we're, you know, 45 minutes from San Antonio. And we live out on some acreage in the country. And ultimately, her quick thinking to call 911 and get professional help to me as quickly as possible, and applying pressure to slow the bleeding as much as possible was the first person in this room who saved my life. There's some other folks that are in the room that I've had the pleasure of seeing multiple times since my accident, and that's my air life crew. And John and Nate and Rolando came on scene. We've had some very good laughs after the fact, but you know, since then they got the call, and all they knew was that they had a patient with heavy blood loss as a result of a bobcat. And while it's true, there was a piece of equipment there, a bobcat machine that I was using to hold up, and the piece of equipment that I was working on, as they came down my driveway, after the fact I learned that they were looking for the bobcat that attacked me, the animal. And so, you know, again, I don't want to take up all the time for this very noble program. I know there are other speakers that would like to speak, but I sincerely believe that if it had not been for, number one, my wife, number two, my ground EMS crew, who was physically on scene first, even though my air life crew said they were on scene first, circling over and watching everything unfold. Ground crew, air life crew, and then the entire trauma team at University Hospital who I've never been in a trauma bay before. And when I went into the trauma bay, I believe there were 7 critical patients. Nate, you might keep me honest on that, but there were 7 extremely critical patients at the time, me being one of them. And I received the very good gift of whole life blood or whole blood transfusions on scene at my house. Number 2, I believe I received a second unit in the air, and then I received multiple transfusions as I got to University Hospital, and then multiple surgeries later. The third group of individuals, or the fourth group of individuals that I'd like to thank are the people here who are in the Brothers in Arms program. So I've been a blood donor, as I mentioned, for most of my adult life, but I'm not familiar with the Brothers in Arms program, or I wasn't familiar with that program. And I just can't thank you find people enough for taking the time out of your day to give the gift of life when you don't know who the recipient of that gift is going to be. And I've been told that I can't donate blood until April. I was told that it had to be a year since my accident before I'd be able to donate again. I'm ready to donate. And I'm ready to give that gift to somebody that I'll probably never meet. And that's of no concern to me. Because now when I look back and I see where I'm at today, number 1, I have the gift of life. And number 2, I talked to one of my surgeons during my rehab, and I was asking the surgeon what my prognosis would be for recovery. And my surgeon told me, well, I'm going to just tell you one thing. I've been doing trauma medicine for 15 years, and most people that come in with an injury of your extent would have had one of two outcomes. They would have either lost their life or they would have lost their arm. And I lost neither. I have my life, I have my arm, and I have the vast majority of functionality in my arm. And it's in my opinion, as a direct result of the gift that I received in the gift of a whole blood transfusion, multiple whole blood transfusions. So I don't have anything further to say except a big heartfelt thank you. And I wouldn't be here without this program being in existence, and I'll be eternally grateful.
Wherever you're comfortable. Just be careful, don't fall off the back there. I always miss my steps in the back and nearly plummet back there. So now I'd like to tell a little bit about 2 fine gentlemen, one of which regretfully could not make it here today, but I will still tell his story as a donor. And then we also have another donor who was able to make it all the way in and get here after all. So I'm going to tell both of them. So Michael Salas, I may have the wrong pronunciation. He's been a life-saving blood donor since 2013, so long time. A 4-gallon donor, and he became a Brothers in Arms donor in September of 2019, just right after we really formed this program. He's donated 9 low-titer O-whole blood units. And then the other donor was John Davila. He's here today. Where are you, John? Perfect. A blood donor since July 2020. He became a Brothers in Arms donor April 2021. Has donated 4 units of low-titer O-whole blood, and his first donation of low-titer unit was actually transfused for Scott. So John and Michael actually came in on April 6th to donate and their appointments were actually only 45 minutes apart. Amazing. Both units went on to save Scott's life on that fateful day. I'd like to invite John up here and go ahead and meet Scott for the first time.
Sorry.
Thank you so much.
No, my pleasure.
I greatly appreciate it. You saved my life.
No, it was my pleasure.
sorry about the attire. I had a crazy morning. The only thing I can say is that I'm happy that, you know, my blood actually got to save someone's life. You're never really aware of what your blood can do, even when you donate. But knowing this brings immense joy to me, because when you find out that you have universal blood, you know, you're like, oh, cool. You know, but you never really know the importance of when you donate, because sometimes when you donate, you're just like, oh, you know, here for the snacks. But no, you're really actually saving somebody's life. And to me, that is the greatest feeling in the world. So I just want to say that if you can donate, donate. It's really life-changing. And he's living proof.
I'd like to invite Dr. Stewart and CJ Winkler up to the front. We're going to hand out our coins. So everyone's going to, all the donors, people who are involved in this program, get to get their Brothers in Arms coin today.